It's 2 o'clock.
Okay, it's 2 o'clock. So today it's all about spreadsheets. So spreadsheets are one of those things that not everybody uses, and partly they don't use it because all they know is Excel, and Excel is a little bit daunting. And we're gonna see how that compares to Apple's Numbers. Remember, Numbers is free. You can get it just by downloading it. Go to the Mac App Store and download it. Let's start with Excel today, and start with Excel because it's alphabetical. Let's do that. Okay. So today, as usual, I've made a big handout for you. Hope you have it. And I want to start by showing you how to do something simple with a spreadsheet. I mean, this is what spreadsheets are good at. They're good at numbers. They're good at keeping things in rows and columns. And then we do stuff with them. We might add them up if they're numbers. We might just keep them nice and straight, nice and neat. We can sort things. We can sort them alphabetically. We can sort them high to low. We can get totals, averages, maximums, minimums, and a zillion other functions. So let's start. I want to show you about making a simple spreadsheet. I'm going to start with a blank one, and then I'm going to dress it up a little bit. So this particular spreadsheet is just going to be blank. This is this Excel sheet, and here's Excel. Okay. So when you have an Excel spreadsheet, this is what it looks like, and as you scroll, that's still what it looks like. It looks like this forever. It's all a bunch of rows and columns, big grid. And anyone want to guess how many rows you can have? You see, I'm already scrolled down here to row 351. It turns out that you can have approximately 1 million rows in a Excel spreadsheet. Of course, it's not approximately 1 million because that's not the way Excel works. Excel is something like 1,400,000 something. It turns out to be 2 to the 14th power, typical Excel. And the same with the number of columns. Instead of saying that there are 1,000, it's like 1,000 and, well, whatever the number is, it's 2 to the 12th or something. So it's very geeky, all right? And it goes on and on and on. As you can see, I'm scrolling here. The columns are labeled A to Z until you get to number 27, in which case it's double A, and it goes and goes and goes and goes till you've gone, triple letters now. So it's the kind of program only a real geek could love, but you don't have to love it to use it. So basic stuff is you click in a cell and you type a number and you hit return and it goes to the next box. I'm going to blow this up a little bit down here in the corner. This is nice consistency with Microsoft Word. If I come down where it says 100 and click on this and make it something else, why don't we make it 150? So now you can see what we're doing a little bit better. So you type in a box, you click in a box, you type a number, you hit return. Or you click in a box, you hit tab and it jumps across. So tabs jump across and returns jump down. Okay, so not very exciting stuff, but we got to get the basics down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a new spreadsheet that's blank. Now I'll just use this. I'll just clear this out. Highlight the cells, clicking and dragging, and then I'll just press delete. So what I want to do here is I want to open up a big pile of data which I downloaded from, I can't remember. Well, wherever I downloaded it from is a giant state-by-state list of the number of COVID-19 infections by date. So when you look at the numbers, it's not easy to make sense of them, but we're going to filter them, and we're going to sort them, and then we're going to chart them. So here's what we'll do. We don't need this sheet anymore, so I'll say don't save. I'm going to open up this CSV file. So a CSV file stands for comma separated values. And what it looks like is a number and then a comma and then another number and then a comma, another number and then a comma. That's the first row. Then there'd be a return and there'd be another series of that. The reason it's popular is because it's very portable. It can be used in just about any kind of database or spreadsheet program. So it's a common format. And so that's how the data was delivered to me, was in this CSV format. So I'm going to open this, and you'll see what Excel does with it. Okay, so here it is. It was on the wrong screen. I've got two screens today. Okay, so here it is. And once again, I'm going to enlarge it a little bit so we can see what's going on. Okay, so here we are. Here's the data, and the data is there by date, but you can see some states started getting their data in earlier. So here, Washington has they're the only ones on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd for this data, but then start getting some more states, and pretty soon you see, like on the 1st of February, we have 5 states and so on. So what I want to do is reduce this. There's too much stuff here. So what are we going to do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to make use of this sorting and filtering option up here. So we're going to do the same thing in numbers, and we're going to see how these compare and see who does it better. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a custom sort. So what are we going to sort? Well, I'm going to sort by, and here you can't really tell in this area under the word column. Let's see if I can draw you a box here. Here, you don't see that there's something there to click, but there is. So I'm going to click there now. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to click there now. So when we click here, it turns out that you get a list of all the columns that you have, and I'm going to sort first of all by state. And then I'm going to sort I'm going to add another column down here where this plus is. I'll sort by date. And now we'll click OK. And now you see that our data has been sorted by state and by date. So Alabama here, as we zoom in some more, Alabama did not report any data until the 13th of March. So, there's Alabama, and we go a little further, and we will get to Alaska, and so on and so on and so on. There's Arizona. But what I want to do is I'm interested in the data for 3 states, and this is our number of infections in this column here. So I'm interested in California, New York, and Texas. So let's see, how do we do this? How do we reduce this? Well, what we do is the word is filter. So we went up here before to this button, and we chose custom sort. Now we're going to go to filter. So when I go to filter, nothing happens, right? Well, wrong. What happened was this row here got little arrows that are pointing down, which are menus. So I'm going to click on one of those, and now we can see that right now we're seeing all the states. I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to say, give me California, and give me New York, and give me Texas. So when I do that, our spreadsheet now shows California and New York and Texas. So it's really nice that we can reduce a set of data, a big set of data, down to just the parts that I cared about. And if you try to do this sort of by hand, what you've done is you've copied and pasted, and it's just impossible. But this is a really nice feature, and it turns out they're not the only ones with it. But even if you really want to use Excel, you should know about that feature to filter and to sort. Okay, and it turns out I don't need this column at all, this one here. So I'm going to click on this column and I'm just going to delete it. There are a lot of ways to delete a column. I'm going to just go to the edit menu and say delete. Okay, and I'm not interested in death right now. Let's just keep it a little bit upbeat. Just delete that. So now I have these three columns here, the date, the state, and the cases. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there for a minute, and I'm gonna show you how we do the same thing with numbers. So let's go to numbers. Okay, so here's the numbers, and when I open up numbers, make a new document with numbers looks a little different, looks like this. And if I zoom out here using the same method that we used in Apple's Pages, if I zoom out, you see that this grid doesn't seem to go very far. So how can you do it? Well, in numbers, the idea is that you're working not on a giant grid that goes forever, but you're working on a big piece of paper, and you put tables with grids on it. So I could have another table, or I could have one more, a bigger table, and I can grab the sides here and I can pull this out, make more columns, or pull this down, make more rows. But as it turns out, the program's smart enough to add rows and columns as needed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to close up this plain one, and I'm going to just open up that same CSV file again. So throw this away. Let's go to numbers here, and we'll go to open, and we'll find that same file I opened with Excel a minute ago. And let's see what happens here. All right, first thing that happens here is it's perfect. It's nice. It's nice to look at. So we give 1 thumbs up to numbers for that. Another thing that's nice about it is if we go to do the filtering and the sorting, you'll see that it's nicer here too. So let's do it. We're going to blow it up a little bit so everybody can see it better. Now we're going to use the organize button up here, and we are going to adjust this table. So this table, which I moved around last time a little bit just to show off, I grab it by the knob up here, and I'm going to say, let's sort the whole table by state. And it's instantly sorted, as you can see, sorted very nicely indeed. Within each sorting by state, I want to sort by date as well. So we'll sort by date afterward. And so now everything's in order by state, and then within each state by date. Now we want to filter. Okay, so we're going to filter. Again, we're going to just show those 3 states that I was interested in before. So we'll add a filter. I'll say, give me these 3 states. So I pick the column I'm interested in. And which column is it? Well, remember it was called state at the top. They figured that out. So back to organize here for this here. We're going to go to filter. We're going to add a filter for the states. We're going to say that we have to tell it what kind of thing we're looking at. We're not looking at numbers. We're looking at words. We're looking at text. So go here, pick text, say the text contains California. Do not make a typo here. It won't work. Okay, so California. As soon as I tab out of this box, this should filter. Okay, and there it is. But I'm going to add more to it. So I'm going to add to the rule. You don't go down here and add a filter. You add more to this rule, the rule for states. I'll say this one here. We also want to say New York. Okay, and then we're going to do one more. Add a rule here. We'll say the text has to contain Texas. So any of those. You notice this is or, right? That it's California or New York or Texas. And so if we look, indeed, that's what we have. We have California, all this information for California, followed by all the information for New York, and all the information for Texas. Okay, that's great. Now, what are we going to do next? Well, what I want to do now is you get an idea of how how I was able to reduce the size of this giant data set for 50 states down to just the 3 that I cared about without doing a lot of copying and pasting and so on. In Excel, you remember I got rid of a column, and so when I click on this column, I see up here the column heading. And one of the nice things about this is when I hover over the column heading, you can see next to the letter C there, a tiny little down arrow gives me an idea there's something to click. So I'm going to delete this column, and I'm going to delete this column here. So now I've basically made this one looks like the Excel one. So if I bring the Excel one back, we show these side by side, you see there, basically it's the same information, but one of them's a little prettier to look at, and one of them isn't. So, okay, so let's see what else we can do here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a sheet that I've already made, and I'm going to make a chart out of it. Okay, so we won't need this one anymore, and I'll save it. Okay, I'll save it anyway, just in case. Don't need this one anymore. I'll save it anyway. I think I already had one, so I'm gonna make that too. Okay, so now I'm gonna open up some documents that I already had before. Sort of, I know it's cheating, but we only have an hour. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna look in my little folder of documents for today, and here's the same document, but I moved the columns around. So now I've got a column for each state and the numbers of cases below. And so what I want to do here is I want to make a chart. So here's how you make a chart. So I'm going to highlight, let's grab the first 3 weeks of data that we have here. All right. And now we want a chart. Well, how are we going to do this? Well, there are a lot of ways to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. Insert menu, and I'm going to go here to chart, and I'm going to get a column chart. And here's our chart. And it's a little small, but I'm going to stretch a little bit so we can see. Okay, so there's our chart. And let's say that we don't want it to be like this. We want it to be a stacked column chart. Looks like we've got one right here. Let's see what happens here. Well, we don't, but we're going to see if we have one in here. Oh, change the chart type right here. We'll do it like this. We'll make a column that's a stacked column like this. Okay, so now you can see our cases, and if you look very carefully down here at the bottom, you see a legend that shows us, let's see if we can make this bigger. Yeah, you see a legend that shows us that blue is New York, orange is California, and the gray is Texas. Okay, so New York obviously making the bulk of these cases. Alrighty, so that's not so hard. But now let's do something that is hard, which is try to print this. So I'm going to zoom back out so we can see our whole document. So we've got the data over here. I've got the chart over here, and let's say we want to print this. So we go to File and Print, of course. And when you do, you get something like this, not good. And here's my chart, sort of, yeah, not good. Okay. Now there's a nice button here that says Scale to Fit. So I'm going to try that button, and now I see. Okay, now I've got something, and it's not too bad. I probably should have chopped off this part here, but it's not too bad. It's also not too good, but it's okay. So I could print. Let's do the same thing in numbers. We'll go to numbers, and I have a similar sheet, I believe. Yeah, COVID-19 cases here. Just keeping it topical here. So here I've done the same thing, and you notice something very nice here. As I start scrolling, do you see the headings stay put? Ooh, that's nice. So you don't get down here and wonder, is this the column for California or is this the column for California? Because you see the headings stayed put. A lot of little nice touches like that in numbers. Okay. So let's try to make a chart out of that. So I'm clicking in the first cell. I'll scroll down to this. This will be the last cell. Shift click, and we will go to the chart button here, and we'll do a stacked chart again like this. And here it is. Looks very nice, and you really don't need to make any changes to this at all. However, if I wanted to, it's certainly no trouble, and it's no trouble in Excel either. If you click on a series like this, this is the New York is blue. If I wanted to make New York, I'll make it red. I can click on this, and then I can hit the style over here, and I can pick a different color, and it's just done. So it's very easy to do. Excel's a little harder to do, but let's go to print this and let's see where this really shines. When you go to print in Numbers, you get this beautiful print preview before you head out to actually print it. You get to decide, first of all, whether you want to print the page sideways, which might work better, and you get to decide whether it should fit on one page. I can click on this button that says fit, and so it's one page wide, but how many pages deep? Well, I can take care of that. I can simply scale it like this until it fits. That's nice. Or I could have done it like this and just said, I'll just print page one. But the point is you get to play with this a lot, and it's quite nice to be able to adjust. And without that, you never really know exactly how it's going to come out. You also notice this one has a nice grid lines, and we didn't have that in Excel. In Excel, you have to dig around to find where you turn on the grid lines. So, all right, so that's, I think it's clear. This was a little bit easier, a little bit nicer. I'm going to switch back to Excel here for a minute. And in Excel, we don't see the headings staying put as I scroll. You see this thing squirming around a lot, but see, there goes a heading. So now you don't know whether this column I've clicked in is the New York or the California or the Texas. There is a way to freeze the frame, freeze the headings, but in Numbers it didn't have to. Okay, all right. So I do want to do one more thing while we're here. I'm going to zoom this out so we can kind of see what we're doing. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of this chart. I don't need the chart, so I'm going to click on it and I'm going to hit delete and say goodbye to that chart. Okay, well, I'm going to try to say goodbye to this chart. There you go. Adios chart. They're making it hard for me. Okay, so what I want here is a simple formula. I want a formula over here. I want totals. So what are we going to do? Well, it's in Excel, it's fairly easy. If we know where to look, it's really easy. And where you look is in formulas. So you have this ribbon across the top that makes these buttons change as you choose different options. So I'm going to pick formula, and we have this thing called auto sum. Now auto sum knows to add up everything that's either to the left of where I'm clicked or above where I'm clicked. So here they know there's nothing above, it's got to be to the left. So if I click here, they're guessing that we want the sum from B4, because that's column B, row 4, C4, and D4. We want those. So if that's correct, I can check the mark there, or I can hit return. It's one of our first nice new things about Excel. We're moving on to page 2. This is the so-called nifty feature. If I grab this little black knob down here, I don't have to repeat the formula by hand, because look how many rows there are. There's 49 rows of formulas. I don't want to have to do that. So I'm going to grab this knob. You notice the cursor changes to a solid black cross. Pull on that, and as I pull it down, the formula is going to come with me until I get to the bottom of this. I don't mind that it's slow here. I could go faster, but I'm going slow so you can see. And now what happened? Well, there's so many people sick that it doesn't fit. But now I get to show you another nice thing about Excel, which is it knows how to size a column so that it's big enough to show the biggest number in it. And the way you do that is you click on the border to the right of the column. So not down here in the spreadsheet itself, but up here in the heading where you've got the column labels. So I'm going to double click on this line between column E and column F. You can see the cursor is kind of doing this double arrow thing. And of course I could click and drag it. That's fine, but the cool way is to double click and it just expands it just enough to hold everything. Okay, so here's the number. And if we were to double check, this one is 217,130 plus 27,107 plus 16,106. And that equals this. So making a formula is easy. The hard part is knowing where to go to do it. They have a lot of formulas. If you wanted a list of formulas, you should look at this list over here. I clicked insert function here. So we can do random numbers, we can do averages, we can do sines and cosines, we can do functions that I don't even, not only have I forgotten, there's some that I've forgotten, there's some I never even learned. So there's all kinds of stuff in here. Maximums, minimums, there went a cosine, I remember those. So anyhow, they have a lot of functions. They have more functions here than in numbers, but it might not matter because they both have all the basics. The financial ones, the averages, the totals, the standard deviations, things like that. So let's see what it looks like in numbers when you go to make a total. So now I don't have a column here, but I'm just going to use this little grabber up here and just to pull over a column, and hopefully I will make myself a new column. Didn't work. There we go. I had to drag a little further. So we'll put total here. Now what are we going to do? Okay, I'm going to highlight these rows. What I'm going to do. If I highlight these 3 rows, you see at the bottom, they show me some things that I might want to do with those 3, with these 1 row, 3 columns. I might want to do something with this 1 and this 33 and this 11. One of the things I might want to do is get the sum. So down the bottom left corner, you can see I've got a little sum button, and I can just drag it into place. So I don't have to hunt around for where the functions are. I just have to highlight the cells that I care about. I'll do it again. Here's another one. I'll highlight these cells and I'll pull this over. Now, you don't think I'm going to do this 45 times or whatever. What you do in numbers, instead of grabbing the bottom right corner, you grab this little orange dot here. And this orange dot is hard to see. I will attempt to zoom in. I don't think it shows up. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab that orange dot and just pull it down. And so that's how you do a fill down in numbers. And there it is, and it all fits, and that's kind of nice. So if you're going to have, if you're going to put a formula in somewhere, a lot of times you're going to need to repeat it down the rows. So a fill down like that is really nice. However, there are other things you can do that are fill downs, and I'm going to show you some of those now. This goes along our nifty features section. So I'm going to make a new table on this numbers sheet just so you see how it's done. Let's zoom way out here, and I'm going to insert a table. One of the nice things about this is when you point to these buttons, they tell you what they're going to do. So I'm going to add a table. I'm going to add a table that looks like this. Okay, so here's a table. And I'm going to move this way over here so it's a little bit more out of the way. Let's ditch this chart too. Okay, so here's this table. So when you have a table like this, a lot of times the hardest part is getting the data in. So let's zoom in so you can see it better, and then I'm going to start entering some data without doing very much work. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Well, let's say that going down the side here, I want to have the months of the year. So I'm going to type in January, and now I'm going to grab this little orange knob and I'm going to pull it down, and look, they know. And here I've hit October. Let's see if I keep going, get a couple of rows here. There. So I'll just grab it and continue. That's nice. That saves you an awful lot of time. Okay, so don't ever type all the months again. Watch this. Suppose this was going to be something else. Suppose it was going to be Monday. And you want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, I can do that too. And if I keep going, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you see it works again. Let's say you want to do first quarter. and you want to go across like this, what do you think is going to happen? Look at that. So you can save yourself gobs of time by using these auto-fill things. And there are others. And Excel can do them too. So let's go look at Excel and make sure that I'm not kidding you here. Let's put in, I'll put in January like this, just Jan, and I'm going to click on this and grab the knob on the right, and let's see if it goes February, March, April, May. You can see, if you just ahead of my cursor, you can see that it was writing down what it was going to put in. We'll do the Monday this way. Let's see what happens here. We'll grab the knob, bottom right. That works. And of course, they didn't make it the right size, and that's too bad, but we can fix that too. Let's do, if I do first like this, and I pull this over here like this, second, third, fourth, fifth, that's nice. Now let me show you what they do with numbers. Supposing you're going to put in a series of numbers. If I want to number these rows from 1 to 12, if I make this a 1, and I click here and I pull on this knob, you may be disappointed here. Okay, all ones. They didn't know what I wanted to do. So let's undo that. And I'm going to put a 2 here. So I want to give them a head start. I'm going to highlight both of these so they know that the second one is 1 more than the first one. So now I'm going to pull on this, and now it's done it. Okay. So if I'd have done 1, 3, 5, 7, I could have done that. And let's just make sure that numbers can keep up in that way too. I'll put a 1 here, and if I pull down, it's all a bunch of 1s. Okay. Put a 1 here, and I'll put a 2 here. And then we'll highlight both of these, and we'll grab the yellow knob. And see, it's just a little bit nicer because it shows you what it's going to be right there in the cell. Excel was doing it also, but they're showing it a little tiny gray thing that's hard to see until you let go, and then it fills it in. Okay, so that's autofill, and there are a lot of times you're going to want that. Let's look back at the column width here. I told you that this was not the right width, as you can see. Let's highlight these columns, and let's see if we can automatically fit these columns to the width they need to be. So I told you before, if I double clicked on the column, on the line between columns, it would expand, and indeed it did. Look, they're all the right size. Wednesday's bigger, Thursday's a little smaller, Friday's a little smaller. That was pretty good. Wow, so Barbara's asked an interesting question. If I did something like this, if I did 1 and then 3 like this, would this one here be 5? Well, I don't know. That's a great question. Let's try. Okay. Not exactly, right? Wow, Excel, how did they come up with that idea? Oh, maybe let's try one more time. Let's do, put 1 here. I'll do it right here. I'll put a 1 here. I'll put a 3 here, and I'll put a blank here. Now let's pull down. Okay. Woo-hoo. That was kind of neat. So we outsmarted them. Okay, let me see what else I've got here in our neat stuff. Okay, so let's talk about formatting. Here's our Excel thing, and I wanted to show you that it can format reasonably well using some templates that they give us. So I'm going to highlight this text. So first thing I have to do, I have to highlight the text. Okay, so I've highlighted this text. So let's look at formatting, and you got to figure out where it might be. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to Home, and I'm going to pull this window over, make it a little wider, and watch what happens here. Wider, 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 wider. Okay. So we get more buttons when we do that. And now when I click here, I see all these table options. So why don't we pick something to match my shirt? We'll pick this one. And see, nothing really happens yet. And then you have to say, okay. And now it's done it. Okay, so in numbers, it'll be more live. But see, I could do this again. I could come up here again and let's choose something else. Now, see, I didn't select the right stuff, so it's not going to work. So I have to select those rows again. It's kind of a pain. So select these. We'll just pick a different style so you can see it's really quite different. Orange. Let's put it back to that blue one. Looks better. Okay. Let's look at, let's do it in numbers. And let's go back to this table here. And I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see a little bit more of it. Okay, so this table, as long as I'm in this table somewhere, I can format the table, because this whole grid that I'm looking at, this is one table. We have two tables on this, if you recall. This is our other table over here. We're just going to format this table. So I click anywhere in the table, and we have options here. Here's one option. Here's another one, and let's see what we get here. I'll zoom back in so we can actually see. Okay, so we've got the nice gray stuff, which is terrific. We've got we can add our own styles, and here, why is this not showing blue? Let me just see here. Pick this one anyway. Nope. Okay, so there we go. It did work. I'll call that a bug. It's okay. We got another bug on the Excel site. I'm going to show you later. So, a little different look. Maybe a little bit more modern and clean, but they both can do it. And so we're going to leave it at that. And we've seen already sorting and filtering. So those are nice things. So we're going to just keep moving on. Let's talk about look and feel. And so this is where I say numbers wins. Okay, so originally I thought this was going to kind of come out to be kind of a tie, but when it comes to doing things that are that they both can do, it's almost always nicer to do it with numbers. So let's look at some things that are really nice, like what I'm looking at here in this table. So the table formatting is very simple. Headers and footers. If you want to have a row across the top that doesn't move, like it's not moving now, then you have a header row here. If for some reason you didn't care about that, you would choose 0 here, and then everything just scrolls by. Okay, so we're going to put it back on 1. You could have 2 or 3 rows of headers. You can have more than that, and you see they don't move. So that's what header rows are about. They're really easy to do. It's same with a footer row. If you want to have a row across the bottom that was maybe totals, that you could always see the totals as you scrolled, really easy to get to. And the same with the left-hand side. You can have a column that doesn't move. So if you are scrolling, let's say your sheet is really big like this, and you're scrolling this way to look at different columns, you see that the date column stayed put. So that's what a header column is. So we've got 1 there. Okay, so it's doable in Excel, but you wouldn't enjoy it, okay? You might have to do it. I mean, it's just sometimes you have to do it, but let's look at Excel again here. Where's the headers and footers? Well, it's in here somewhere, all right? It's in here somewhere. You can select a row, and you can tell it to freeze that row. And if I could find it, I would do it for you. Okay. So obviously I favor numbers. Let's look at some really weird stuff that Excel does. So in a way here, Excel's going to lose this battle by, well, numbers isn't going to win. Excel's going to lose. So let's look at some of the feedback you get from Excel. Let's just say I wanted to insert a shape. You see here, there's a button that says shapes. You also see as I point to different things, I get a little tooltip here. And what they do is the tooltip tells me nothing that the button doesn't tell me. Look at here. I point to recommended pivot table, and the tooltip is recommended pivot table. I point to the table button, and the tooltip is table. I point to shapes, and the tooltip is shapes. It doesn't tell me anything. So it's as if these guys don't even use their own program. They must not need the tooltips. If they're that good at it, maybe they do use it and they're just so great they don't need any help. But they've forgotten about people, sort of regular people. Let's look at what happens in numbers when you point to things. You point to the table button and it tells you, oh, choose a table to add to this spreadsheet. Okay, that makes sense. What's this one do? Oh, choose a chart to add to this spreadsheet. Okay, good. What's this? Add a text box. Okay, yeah, see, it makes sense, right? This is visual feedback that works. Also notice this. In both of these programs, a document can have multiple pages that are stacked up on each other, and you sort of flip through them. They're called sheets. So if I hit another sheet like this, another plus, now I have sheet 2. So you could have maybe supporting information on one sheet, and then maybe the totals of them are made on the first sheet. So they both have sheets. So you'll notice as I point to these sheets that I get a little down arrow. When I click on the arrow, it shows me a menu. But I knew there was something to click because when I pointed to it, I got a little down arrow. Look what happens in Excel. So here's Excel. They put their sheet labels at the bottom. So I'm going to add a sheet here. There's no clue that there's anything that you can do with these. But if you hold the control key down, if you know in advance to hold the control key down, then you get a menu. Otherwise, if you don't hold the control key, you don't get a menu. So you have to know this, and there's no visual indication that something's going to happen if you do that, or that you should do that. Okay, now watch this. This just blows my mind. I'm going to open up a second Excel sheet here. We had one open before. Let's see what happens. I hope I can prove this. This will be very interesting. Oh, I'm on the wrong sheet. Okay, here. So here's this sheet we have, and what you might expect is if you do something and you undo it, it undoes. Okay, that makes sense. So if I came up here and I put in XYZ, and then I went up here to edit and I said undo typing, good. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. But let's say you had a second sheet. This will be interesting. I hope it works. It was very disappointing when I discovered this bug. I hope I can reproduce it. Let's say over here, I'll put in XYZ here again. But now I'm not in that sheet. I'm over on this one. Okay, I'm going to put this one on top of it so you can see I'm really here. I'm going to put in this, that, the other. And let's see what happens if I undo. Where does it go? Now I'm going to undo a little bit more. It undid that one. What's it doing over there? There's no, I'm here. This is this document. That should have been the end of the undos. I shouldn't be able to go any further. But it undid something somewhere else, and there's no clue that happened except for I was watching. So that is, as I will give them a virtual smack with the ruler on the wrist. That's very bad. Very, very bad indeed. Okay, look at some other things that'll just drive you bonkers. They do some things that are so close to right, but they're not right. Oh, question's been asked. Which version of Excel? This is the very newest Excel. This is 16.37. This is what you get with Office 365 if you have subscribed. And the numbers is numbers 10, and that's the latest one too. Okay, good question. I should have mentioned that. I meant to. Thank you. Let's look at this here. They have this nice thing called Tell Me. But watch what happens. Let's say what you want to do is you want to freeze the top row here. Remember I told you I didn't know how to do it. So I'm going to, up here to Tell Me, I'm going to say freeze top row. Okay? So when I tell them to freeze the top row, it froze this row. All right, that's not what I wanted. I'll ask it to freeze the top 3 rows. Okay, freeze top 3 rows. So I'm going to say that, and I'm going to hit return here. And what am I going to get here? Well, I can't do that one. I'm going to delete. Let's see if I can say delete. Freeze this row. Freeze this row. Let's see if they can do that. No, they can't. Well, the problem with all this is that let me get rid of these two rows, and then we'll really be able to do it. Okay, here once again, I'm going to tell them to freeze the first row, and the problem is I don't know how to do it. They just did it for me, so it's called tell me, but it doesn't tell you. Okay, so if I went here and I said, well, unfreeze, tell me how to unfreeze the first row. Okay, well, they didn't do it. I guess they couldn't do that one, but it'd be nice if they told me how, so that I could know where to go to do it myself. I don't want to have to do it by asking them every time to do it. So it's unfortunate, something that's close to working but not quite right. Would you believe they have a feature in here that translates? Why would we have translate? Well, I don't know, but here it is. So if I go to translate, I can select text here. So I'm going to put in, actually I'm going to go here. Remember we had, I'll put in our Monday, and I'm going to do our fill down thing. So we have some text. Okay, so here's Monday through Sunday, and I'll make this wider. Okay, so I've got this text, and the translator has told me that this is how you would do it in Spanish. Awesome. But is there a way to, convert it? No. I just have to look at this. Can I copy this and paste it? Well, let's try it. No. Okay. See, so they come close to doing it, but they don't do it. So these guys drive me bananas. All they do is they make things harder for you. Why even offer a feature that gets your hopes up and then doesn't work? Okay, so so I say, give numbers a try. Get numbers out and give it a whirl. You can play around with some of the things that they have built for you. If you go to new, they have templates here. I don't know that you're going to ever really use one of their templates, but they're interesting to see. Okay, here's a table and here's a chart. You can put numbers in and you can watch things change. So if I made this a 10 and I hit a return, you'll see the column hopefully will move. I'll make this a 0. We'll see if a column goes down to nothing. Yeah, see, things dropped. This one disappeared. So the templates are fun to play with, but I don't think in the end you're gonna build your own. Now this was not meant to be how to use pages or how to use numbers or how to use Excel, but just to point you in the right direction. And it turns out that numbers will import an Excel document. That's a great question, Sarah. I was just about to say that. You can export. You see, look at all these exports that you can do. Export as a PDF, export as Excel, export comma separated values, tab separated values, or the older numbers format. You can also email a copy to somebody. When you do it like this, when you go to mail, if I want to send it as Excel, it's going to be an Excel sheet. Okay, so I could send this to myself, and if I had mail running, it would be up here already. So yes, numbers can be converted to Excel. It almost all works. The simple stuff works. And here's my document. And look, if I double click this, it opens in Excel over there. So here's the Excel document, and let's look at here's the numbers document, right? They give it back to Excel and back to numbers. They look a lot alike, right? The numbers are there, the chart's there, the formula's there, everything's there. So vice versa, back from Excel to numbers, no way. But what you can do is you can export in Excel. You have to do a save as, and you can say, I'm going to save this as, they have every format in the world except for the one that would be helping the other guy. So, numbers is punching up. So they're looking up at the king, which is Excel. They kind of have to support Excel's format. Excel does not have to support numbers format. They know they're the boss. But all these different formats here they're all interesting, but none of them are exactly what you want. But the comma separated values, as you recall, I imported a comma separated values file to begin. You could use that for something that's simple. If it's, you know, if of course the numbers program can open the Excel document anyway. Okay, so that's fine too. So you can do that. So let me do one of those real quick here. So I'm going to save this document, and we saved this one. This is the COVID-19 one. I'll save it. I'll quit. So Excel's not running. We'll quit. We'll quit numbers here, and let me just see that Excel document. You can see from the icons here that some of these things are Excel documents. That's an Excel document. Let's see if I can just control click and say open with numbers. So this is the numbers program opening the Excel sheet, and you see it's trying, and there it is. Okay, so numbers opened the Excel sheet and it worked. So you don't really need to convert it, but Excel does it. I mean, numbers will do it for you. That's it. Thank you very much for coming. Bye, everybody.